keep on going, and then I realised a lot of the school kids have left, so I'm feeling a bit less bad about that now. So I was quite nervous about doing this talk. So on Monday I was out with my mum, and I'm like a bit nervous doing a talk to a big room. And she said, "You don't need to worry, dear." And I thought she was going to say, "You'll be amazing, I have every faith in you." And she said, "Only 7% of the people will actually be listening." And I was like, "Oh, thanks." And then she sent me an article that she'd Wikipedia'd to follow up to make sure I got the point. So the 30 people in the room, thanks. I really appreciate it. I want to cover something a bit different from what you've had today. You've had a lot of really fantastic advice on Startup 101, getting your business going. And now I want to throw down a bit of a challenge about thinking about how you run your business a bit differently. And I want to talk about why it's good business to be a good business. So I'm Anna Jones. I am the Entrepreneurship Director of Virgin Unite. That is the not-for-profit foundation of Richard Branson, his family, and the Virgin Group, the Virgin Management Group. I head up all the work we do in entrepreneurship, and over the last 10 years we've helped over 4,000 entrepreneurs around the world really achieve economic growth, drive innovation, and create pride in their businesses and what they do. We believe very firmly that there shouldn't be a divide between being a business and being a good business and being a force for good. And there are lots of ways that businesses can be a force for good without having to be a social enterprise, and that's what I want to talk to you about today. So it's time for a change. I'm sure most of you feel that the way capitalism is working at the moment isn't working for us. There's huge environmental challenges that we're facing. We've got massive workforce and people displacement as wars continue. 87% of people, according to a Gallup poll, hate their job. Employee engagement is super low. People don't believe that corporates on the whole are really looking out for people and the planet as well as making a profit. And we believe it's time for something to be done differently, and entrepreneurship is absolutely the key to making that happen. So in the 80s there was a film called Wall Street that was made. There's a very famous catchphrase based from that called "Greed is good." And I do firmly believe that every business needs to make a profit. As an entrepreneur, you need to get a salary. You need to be hungry to make that profit so you can make your business grow. But every business needs to think about the people that work for it, the community that they serve, and the planet that they're on. And I think our generation is the generation that can make that change, start thinking about those challenges, and how can we work to address them. So what I want to do is challenge you when you're starting up your business to think about, yes, I want to run an awesome business. I'd love to go to Silicon Valley. Maybe I'll get bought by Google. Maybe I'll become as famous as Mark Zuckerberg. But I also want my business to be a force for good. So as part of my everyday activity, what can I be doing and what can my business be doing that will help people and help the planet? So how can we be the Yodas of the business world? So there's a few things you can think about. Firstly, with your business model, and then you can start thinking about things about the way you do business. So first of all, a challenge. Is there a way that you can share some of the profits? Now, it doesn't have to be very much. So if you go to any charity and just Google difference that £3 can make, you can find a charity that will do something locally where £3 a month can make a phenomenal difference. So can you mentally think for every £1,000 your business raises, you put £1 in a jar by the door? Can you start thinking about ways that you can just take really, really small amounts of your profit, just enough to make it super easy, and make a difference to a charity that you care about locally, or some of the community? Is there stuff that you can give away? And the important thing here is not that you have to give away something of the same quality of something that you're charging, but is there something that you're doing that actually you can give as part of society without impacting too heavily on your bottom line, or potentially benefiting your bottom line? So one co-working space that we know work with in Dublin called Dog Patch, they give away a set of desks to a local charity that teaches girls to code. By doing that, they've actually really enhanced their business proposition to the community. So they're far better embedded in the community. They've got a massive reputational boost. And it's really helped them bring in business and create a more sustainable business for them. So it's good for people, but it's also very good for their profit. And normally you find those two things do come together. Lastly, can you offer your time? It may be that you're so early days that giving away, you're living off tuna, giving away money is really not an option. Is it possible that you can give some of your time? As you make your way up, can you send the elevator back down for somebody else who's waiting below? Could you go in and talk at a school and tell them what it's like to be an entrepreneur? Can you start helping people think that they need to get new life skills in the new world that we're living in? So the thing that we were talking about earlier about advocating for kids to learn to code. Can you provide a role model to show that anybody can be an entrepreneur, as long as you have a great idea and the passion to succeed? So is there some of your time that you can give up? Can you give up some of your employees' time in a structured way so that you start engaging more with your community? So recently we invited a bunch of school kids into the Virgin offices. They came in for a day. We asked them to redesign a space for us. And this was the idea that they came up with. I think it was pretty awesome. Kids me fond of the swimming pool. We're yet to implement it. But what those kids got out of the day was a bit of a perspective about what's it like to be working in an office. Now Virgin sounds like a big company, but actually Virgin Management is 150 odd people. And Virgin Unite is 20. We have 3 startups running in our office, Virgin Red, Virgin Sport, and Virgin Startup. So when they came round, they could really start to see what's it like to be in a business and running a business, not so much of a corporate experience. And we got them involved and set them a challenge that was kind of fun and enjoyable for them to do. So you might think, well, I'm actually a bit busy. I'm eating my tuna, I'm coding my app, I haven't got much time on my hands, this really doesn't work for me. So what we're trying to do at the moment at Unite is try and find really small things that any business can do that benefits you as a business, and it's actually kind of easier to do them than not do them. So what are the kind of nudge actions that we can give you that will start all adding up to have an impact? So that because we don't have a time machine, you can't go back to the future. We have to start making changes now if we want the planet and the people to be in a good state in the future. So, still thinking this is a hassle. So we've started brainstorming what are some things that we do at Unite and at Virgin that help us support people on the planet that actually pretty much cost us nothing and most of the time actually saves us money. So the first thing we've done is we've made printing really, really hard. It's a complete pain in the neck. We put the printers way out of reach from everybody. We've actually got a system now where you have to scan your pass into print. So half the time you send something to print, it sits on the computer, you can't be bothered to go and pick it up, we get distracted. And then by the time you decide to print it, you don't need it anymore and you just delete it. And we save masses of paper by doing that. And if everybody in this room did that and saved, say, for example, a ream of paper a month, you'd actually save 360 trees as a group this year. Secondly, banning the bins. So we have all of our bins have been removed from under our desks. We have centralised recycling spots. So basically, if I've got something I need to throw away, I have to get up and then I have to decide which of the 2 bins it goes in. And that way we are moving towards recycling the majority of our waste. Again, it's a really small thing to do. It has a significant impact. Something I'm very passionate about is hiring for difference. So if you want to be a great entrepreneurial company, you need to be creative. And if you want to be creative, then your team needs to be different. You can't have everybody who thinks the same or behaves the same. And it took me a while to realise that that's very valuable. So it's very tempting as a startup to hire everybody very like you. And you start thinking that your preferences are values, but they're not the same. So I have a strong preference. I love a spreadsheet. I think everything is better with the process. That's a preference for me, it's not a value. The values in my team are that entrepreneurship is a significant force for good, and we all believe that. How we exhibit that is very different between us. And because of that, we can be very creative, as different members of my team represent different potential entrepreneurial audiences. Unite's a bit of an anomaly because actually it's quite female-dominated, so I have 2 men on my team, which makes me the queen of diversity. I'm very proud of that. But actually, what you find is that like hires like. You will hire people like you, whether you think you're doing it or not. It's called unconscious bias. There was a survey done recently where they sent out MIT and Chicago sent out 4,000 CVs to over 1,200 companies who were hiring. To each company, they sent 4 CVs, 2 with typical white names, 2 with typical black names, and in each category, 1 above and 1 at average. So they're 4 CVs. Each company, most of them said they were hiring for diversity. In the majority of cases, the white CVs got more callbacks than the typical black name CVs. And the average white CV names got more callbacks than the above average black CV names. So you may not think you're doing it. You may think you're hiring for diversity. But actually, you've got an unconscious bias that kicks in when you just read the name on a CV. So if you want to start hiring for difference, start thinking about how can you proactively look for people that are different to you. They share the same values, but they will challenge you in other areas. So take the names off the resumes and really start thinking about doing something differently. So it's small things, but they all add up. I talked earlier about the number of trees. If every company in the room today gave £3 a month to charity, by the end of the year, you'd have raised nearly £20,000 to give to local charities. It would be significant. So ideally, start thinking about things that are easy for you to do, that positively impact people and the planet, and everybody benefits as we all work on this together. So we're always looking to understand from people what ideas they have to do these small nudge actions for people, planet, as well as making a profit. So please tell us your story. So that's at the top, Anna and Josie. Emily Turner is on our team, manages content. This is the team on the left. This is in the lift in the hotel in Chicago. You may remember us taking that picture. We regularly profile entrepreneurs that are doing business for good. We have a Hangout running, a Google Hangout running next Wednesday at a slight slant, which is focusing a bit on one of the topics I heard earlier about failure. So how do you turn a failure into success? How do you work out when to stop, when to change, when to pivot? We've actually got Richard Branson in that Hangout, and then Tyra Banks is our second entrepreneur, who's somebody who's turned being a real failure in one area into massive success into others and being an entrepreneur. So we're always looking for stories, always looking to hear from you. I think that's pretty much it. I can see the Bruce's timing standing up. Thank you.
Thank you very much.